Wake that ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
A legend.
Actress Kim Fields. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. I can't believe I'm just now getting here.
Oh, man, we happy to have you.
It's your first time on the show?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. How are you, first and foremost?
I'm great. How are you?
I am blessed, black, and highly favored.
Well, all right and all right. And happy birthday.
Thank you very
to
much.
You.
Thank
happy
you.
birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
How does it feel to be a star on yet another hit show?
Well, thank you. Talk about, being blessed and favored. It feels wonderful. It's very surreal, quite honestly. And we knew that we had something really great. We didn't know it was going to do what it did and continues to do and have the impact, that it has on the culture and beyond. So it's exciting. It feels great.
Of course, we're talking about the Upshaws, if you haven't seen
Yeah.
it. Season 2. So how did you get involved with the Upshaws for people that don't know?
I was actually on a press tour for a movie that I executive produced and starred in called Adventures in Christmasing. And while I was in L.A. on the press tour, they said, hey, can you come in and do a chemistry meeting with Mike Epps and Wanda Sykes for a Netflix series? And I wasn't checking to do a comedy, but I was like, that's a trio you can't say no to.
Right.
And so I went in. Mike and I had great chemistry. Wanda and I had great chemistry, and the Netflix crew was there. And before I got home, practically, they were like, yep, we're gonna do an offer and, go from there. So.
Do you ever feel intimidated to keep up with the humor of the Mike Eppses and Wanda Sykes?
Not at all, because we all have our lanes, and they're so funny, but I know my lane. And they definitely give me a lot of great stuff to do on the page as well. And they're not really doing a lot of improv, it's so great. Our writers are misfire, and so it's so great what they do. And so you really don't have to kind of jockey for position, Now,
we seen recently that Martin did a reunion show.
Yeah.
Would you guys be interested in doing a?
You knew this question was coming.
I mean, living single reunion. Could that possibly happen? Did y'all think about it?
We have this really great thread, the six of us and Yvette, who created the show, this text thread, and so we just love how everyone loves living single, and again, talk about impact, that the show has made and continues to make, and we don't want to taint that by just kind of throwing a reboot together with the idea of a reunion show. Thank God everybody's busy. So, there's no plans for one in the immediate future, but, one never knows.
I saw you tell people.com that you got to be cautious when you do these reboots, of
That's right,
whether it's Facts of Life or Living Single. They said you have to be really careful. So what are your worries exactly?
Well, because if you these characters are beloved, Martin, Fresh Prince, Living Single, Facts of Life, Different Strokes. I mean, these characters, these shows are so beloved, and these characters really mean something to everyone. And so if you get it wrong, they're gonna be mad.
Yeah.
And if you get it wrong to this tune of, well, I didn't see the character doing that, or no, that doesn't make sense, or trying too hard, or just, almost feeling like you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And so, it's almost like, hey, why don't we just kind of keep curating what's there and acknowledge that and celebrate, the efforts that those actors and those creatives are making now in other places.
Absolutely. As a fan, it's selfish in a way, right? Because it's like, we would only want that for nostalgia purposes. We got all of the reruns. We watch it now. It's a timeless show. So just enjoy the art that's there.
The reboots or the reunion?
The show. Like the Living Single reruns all the time. Like it's like watching like the Mona Lisa. Just go enjoy the art that was created.
But for a reunion, you want to see what your favorite cast members are up to, what they're doing. If you don't see them, that's what I thought was dope about the Martin one.
Yeah, I think those reunions are kind of a nice happy medium. A good hybrid for, we're not really rebooting, but here you get to see us all together, because certainly social media, you get to see everybody as much as they want you to see them. But I think it's a good little happy medium.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. Now, I just thought about I would love a reunion.
See?
Because I love hearing Erica Alexander talk.
Oh my gosh, she's the
brilliant.
best. Yes, she is.
Queen Latifah, yourself,
Yeah.
Kim Coles. Yeah, I would like to see that now that I think about it. Just the conversation amongst y'all.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Well, when we had one of those anniversary specials that I think TV One did, and we weren't able to get everybody, but we got quite a few of us, and so we were sitting around and chatting about the show and that sort of thing. So we have had that type of a moment, not with everybody all in, but close enough for
I
now.
would love like mind frame on certain episodes, how they shot it, how it felt. You know what I mean? I would love to hear that.
I remember the first time, well, not the first time I saw y'all, but I think probably one of the first times I saw y'all together in an interview was on Arsenio Hall.
Yes.
Back in the day. How important was that interview at the time?
That was major, because of what the Arsenio Hall show was to the world,
Absolutely.
at that time. That was what nowadays we would call that a moment, and definitely a highlight for all of us, even for everybody that had accomplishments in the individual careers. To be able to do Arsenio at that moment in time with all of us, it was really great, really, really just a memorable, moment, definitely a highlight.
Absolutely. Now, you did Housewives. That was short-lived.
Yes.
You didn't like it? Wasn't for you?
No, it wasn't that at all. It was only supposed to be a one and done. You know, it was Brett Favre with the Jets kind of moment. So, for me, I did what I had set out to do. The mandate at that time in my career was I'm celebrating 40 years in the industry.
Wow.
And so my team, I said, hey, let's go into uncharted waters. We only going to do stuff that we've never done before. And so they kept asking me to do reality for years. And I was like, no, the time's not right. It's just too much. So we said, okay, well, let's just give that a try and see. But knowing that I still had other shows to do, other work to do as a director, as a producer, all kinds of things. So it was just one of those, okay, yep, did that. And then from there being almost catapulted into Dancing with the Stars, which was not only a game changer, but a real life changer for me because there was such a deep dive of surrender and pushing my limitations all the way to the point of no return, and that was the introduction to me for life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Wow.
And so from there, I haven't, looked back since. It's always forward motion of what haven't I done? What can we still do? Because there's a lot to still be done.
Did you not like reality TV at all? It was,
it's the production. It's the production schedule. In scripted, whether it's single camera, multi-camera, comedy, drama, whatever, even in features, you have a very specific schedule. And so with reality TV, you don't really have that. And so it's a lot more demanding. And when you're doing other things besides that, then it's really incredibly demanding. And it was very difficult, family-wise, just with just everything else that was going on. So it was one of those, yeah, we're good. We'll stay in the scripted spaces. We'll stay in the certain lanes that we can really maintain that type of scheduling and that sustainability work-wise.
Now, with Dancing with the Stars, were you a dancer or was this something like...
I'd never done that before in my life.
So you never danced. So you had to
No.
be trained from the beginning.
From
How
scratch.
difficult was that?
It wasn't difficult. The challenge that I wanted to keep rising to every day was come in as a blank slate, be a blank canvas for my partner Sasha to be able to. Kyrie Irving traded to the Lakers, possibly. Oh,
That's not
interesting.
gonna happen.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't think so. Sorry, and we're back. But having that sense of doing something that you've never done before, but at the highest level, was really exciting. Very, very demanding, incredibly demanding. Dancing about 6 or 7 hours every day. And I'm very competitive. And so there was nothing that he could ask me to do. I was like, if you teach it to me, I will do my very best. And so now I have that skill set at that level. And it introduced other things to me. Like now I want to compete professionally in tango. So I just started doing lessons. I make time.
Okay.
I make time for it, yeah. And then COVID happened, so I had to obviously no more lessons, but integrating that back into the schedule is something that I really want to do.
How would Kim feel to describe her journey in the entertainment industry?
I very exciting, very surreal. To be the little black girl from Harlem, who is the one that's still going. And like our brother LL always says, doing it and doing it and doing it well.
That's right.
And so it's very surreal that I'm not a stranger to people around the world, that people have known of me or me since I was 7 years old. It's like Langston Hughes' poem, "Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stairs." There's been some low lows and some high highs, and all the stuff in between. There's still a lot to look forward to. But I think at the end of the day, I think people don't see me coming.
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, from the standpoint that they know of me, but the idea of, like, it's almost like almost every time people say my name, it's like, oh yeah.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Yeah.
And so after a while, in order for me not to, have that really mess me up, it became a thing of, okay, so now I have to flip the script and make it where I have the element of surprise. It's a surprise attack, since now you're just not going to see me coming, but know that I'm here. So I think that's the way to describe it. It's like this push-pull of, I always feel very honored, and the flowers and all of that. But shit, it's still a grind. I'm still grinding and hustling like I'm new at this.
I wonder if they don't see you coming because you've had the blessing of having two characters that are just absolutely beloved.
Yeah.
Like you see you and you see those two characters. You think that is it? They don't
I
really
think
know
that's some
Kim?
of it. I think that's some of it. I think that the characters that I've played, that I've been blessed to do these long-running shows, and then being behind the camera for so many years, and so it's just kind of those. I really like the expect the unexpected. I think that's my mantra going forward in my career. Is that not only did you not see me coming, but now you better expect the unexpected, because I'm still here and I ain't going no goddamn where.
And that 80s celebrity is different. That's real celebrity. This shit now ain't real celebrity. Like you came up in the era of real
right
celebrity. So I'm sure that's why people recognize you all over the world.
Yes, I totally understand that concept, because the 80s were such a very specific time and such a pinnacle for culture, pop culture.
Yeah.
And so to survive that, and just what, society-wise and life-wise, what was going on, I think it was just a lot. So if you got to the other side of that and you still going, whew, great. Right. But yeah, I think that's part of it. It's almost like the characters in the 70s. And even though Facts of Life had just started then, but you still had those staples, that were beloved as well. So I do think that some of it is the time that I was getting my comeuppance, which is why I'm so excited about the Upshaws, because it's such a new and fresh take on a style of storytelling that everyone loves, the sitcom, the classic sitcom, but in such an edgy, again, expect the unexpected kind of vibe.
As a little black girl coming from Harlem, how did you get into acting?
So Mom was, because she claims that she's retired. She's a director now. She directs Young Dylan. But my mother is an actress, and so she was starring in Hello, Dolly with Pearl Bailey when I was a little girl. And I would go backstage and see her go out on tour, and I would love to see the behind the scenes. That was the magic to me. Very shy person, Kim Fields, and even as a kid, very shy. And so the idea of performing and wanting to be seen, not my thing at all. But the magic, seeing the costumes and the wigs and the makeup and the sets and the props, and that was my sweet spot. I was finding more and more. And so that's how I got kind of into it. Mom was in acting class here in New York, and we couldn't afford a babysitter. And so she would take me to her acting class with her. There were other kids there. Their parents couldn't afford babysitters. Danielle Spencer, who played Dee on What's Happening, she was a part of that little tribe. And so that's where we got introduced to it. We would imitate what we saw our parents doing just because we were bored, and that was how we entertained ourselves. First commercial was Miss Butterworth Syrup when I was 7. And Mom had moved us to L.A. She couldn't take Harlem and New York anymore.
I was going to ask you, how did you get through Harlem at that time? 'Cause at the time, that's when Harlem, the drug dealers were big.
Yeah, exactly.
When...
And my mom was like, "No, I can't do this anymore, and I can't raise a baby girl on my own in this environment." And my mom, she was a teen mom basically, and so she finished high school at High School of Performing Arts, and then after she toured with Hello Dolly, she was like, "Nope, let's go." So I was at PS 92, came back home, and when everything was fine, by the time I got back home, the little bit that we did have was packed up, and she was like, "Yeah, we're leaving tonight." Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, I was going to ask, how did a child star survive and not go crazy like we see so many of them do? I got my answer. Your mom was in the business.
Yeah.
So she already knew all the demons, all the evils to keep you away from.
I am always amazed at how my mom was able to raise me when she was such a kid herself and had no blueprint at all. But my village, those that my mom chose to have around me. And then as I, grew up and invited people into my life and my space, my village is extraordinary. And they really do keep me together, keep me grounded. They're there for me in the low lows and the high highs, and so that has definitely helped me not lose it. And I didn't want to be a statistic. I thought that I owed, again, my village way more than that, than what the normal child star path, was going to be.
I was going to ask, because you hear all these stories about young child actors and these grown men taking advantage of them, whether it's through the contract or sexually, and you were able to go through that because your mom was right by your side the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mom was right there. My Aunt Pat was right there. Again, the rest of my village as I got older and just had really lifelong friends, Blair Underwood, Malcolm Jamal Warner,
that's royalty right there.
Yeah.
Like when you say, that's wild. Like, cause it's not too many people you know they characters' names, they real names. Like that's just I don't think y'all realize how much of a part of our childhood y'all were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And are.
Yeah. I think now we do because there's more accessibility. With that. The way that you can access your either fan base or your audience or the fans or the viewers can access you to a certain extent. So I feel like we do know, you know what I mean? And that's been very helpful, especially in moments where it's like, this feels kind of thankless. But at the end of the day, you realize, but I'm still here and I'm still blessed to do what I do. And again, at that highest level.
How do you survive that social media time? Because at one time, like you said, you were only seen when you wanted to be seen.
Right.
But now it's like, you go to the mall or you go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Somebody sneaking a picture, taking a picture. I mean, you could just have a head wrap on or you could just be doing garden work and, but people will take a picture, So how do you navigate through that?
Well, for me, there's, again, people have seen me since I was 7, so there's really no, kind of hiding space, hiding place. And, so I'm comfortable. Like, if I don't have on makeup, hey.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Y'all have seen this face before it knew makeup. So there you go. But I feel like I've kind of navigated certain areas of social media, one from that standpoint of if you can't beat them, join them. And also doing it on my own terms. If I'm not up for posting or I feel like I've had just a sensory overload, take a little breather. But it's a space that I actually enjoy because I get to connect with certain people. I've even collaborations. I just did a collaboration with Jonathan McReynolds. And he sang on my soundtrack, and now it's under consideration for an Emmy. So,
wow.
Congrats.
And that was because thank you, but I reached out on Instagram because we follow each other, and DMs can be great and horrible. So in that moment, it was great. But social media, there's certain things like anytime somebody tries to throw me in that auntie zone, I am quick to respond. This is the no auntie zone. Hashtag no auntie zone. No, I am nobody's
What is it
auntie.
with the auntie term that people...
Nah, we ain't doing...
Because I like being called unc. I'm 44 today. They call me Unc. I like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's wonderful. But nah, and I think it's, some of it too, if it's different from, male-female vibe. But yeah, I just I like the banter sometimes, and just things that you learn. Certainly, as a content provider, you have to be in the space so that you know what's current and what's relevant. As an entrepreneur, I'm in the space. It has helped me tremendously as with my budding coffee and tea business, Signature Blends by KF, because at that point, I don't have to spend what a major company would spend on marketing and advertising. So, I think social media is a great tool. I don't set out. People have said a lot that my pages or my spaces are like a really happy place or a destination. I don't try to be a role model. I don't try to be inspirational and all that. Most of the time, and I think with a lot of the work that you do, it's from that place of, well, here's what I need.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking to myself first.
Absolutely.
And if somebody sees it and gets something from it, great. But most of the time, I'm seeing either what I need or I'm seeing something that I need and it's not out there. So I'll
provide it.
Yeah. Mom told me when I was very young, find a need and fill it. Or if you see a need, then fill that. And so a lot of time my social media is coming from that kind of space, and I enjoy it, and when people try to get negative,
that's right.
Block.
Either block or it's in the trash.
Now, is that how you approach your? Oh, I'm sorry.
I said you mentioned your DMs.
Yes.
How many fellas are in your DMs that you're surprised about, old or young? I'm sure got to be some young men in the DMs as well as some older people.
That's actually a great question, because I think what y'all generation don't realize is y'all are showing a different level of aging gracefully. Like when we was growing up, 40 and 50 used to seem like old.
That was Grady.
Yes, Grady. Yes, that was Grady. Yes. That absolutely was Grady. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to answer that, in my DMs, it's just I basically have it set to the people that I know. So I don't have any surprise oh my God, no. And then in terms of aging, it's such a different, like you said, it's such a different time. It's such a different everything, and so I plan on adventuring and journeying and doing, I'm in such a new space, I think too. And again, the genesis of it, Dancing with the Stars, and then being regarded the way that I am as an executive producer. People talk about having a seat at the table. My journey, quite honestly, is I feel like I had to actually build the table and the chairs. And then everybody was like, oh, well, let me come to this table. So I have a seat at the table. It's just different how that table and that seat got created. And so that's actually very empowering and very exhilarating, liberating. Ooh wee, yeah. So that's really where I'm really hovering and moving about, and so with that, as I'm leveling up age wise, it's one of those like the princess said, age ain't nothing but a number.
That's right. Has it gotten better or worse for Black creators in the industry?
I think in my humble opinion, I think it's gotten better, just from the standpoint that the opportunities that we can create ourselves, and the gatekeepers aren't really there like they used to be. Back in the day we had 3 networks, 5 networks. Yeah. Now there's so many platforms. Now you have any kind of phone with a camera, and you can become your own network really quickly. There's so many different outlets that you can populate content on and things like that. So I feel like it's better not just for people of color, but just people, period. Anybody that is in that creative space or whatever space you're in and want to create content. I just was doing research for a show about architects. And so in that research, finding all sorts of there's a YouTube platform where this guy and this girl, and all they do is they talk about different topics regarding architecture. And it's massive. massive, and it's just one of those things where it's like, whatever you're interested in. There's a guy on IG, the fishing guy. Okay, I ain't mad at you. Whatever you want to do. So I feel like it's the accessibility, is there, and technology has really helped us in terms of quality. Don't throw no junk up there, people, just because you can.
Now you mentioned your coffee line.
Yes.
Now, why did you get into the coffee business? So you're a huge coffee drinker?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, a huge coffee and tea drinker. So when I was a little kid, my teacher in 3rd grade, she would read to us every day after lunch, and she was reading Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And she had this enormous thermos of black hot coffee that she would drink. And so the aroma from that and listening to the story, I always felt like I was in like the Chocolate Factory. Fast forward to me graduating from college, and I read Russell Simmons' autobiography, and it really, before that one.
Before Do You?
Yeah. Life and Death, was it called? But it's the 90s.
Okay.
I think it was before that. But it was really a game changer for me from the standpoint of, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I didn't want to wait around for some things to happen. And then it became, well, what do you want to do? And I knew I didn't want to just license my name. And so coffee I knew was certainly sustainable. I love the idea that being a global, I like to think of myself as a global citizen. And so doing coffee and tea gave me an opportunity to be in that global space as an entrepreneur, working with over 36 countries around the world and different farms and growers in the bean belt. So it was very exciting. But I also, on a deeper level, I love that coffee is always a part of someone's day, someone's moment, or tea. But from that standpoint of, you reach for it first thing in the morning, to get through the day, then to wind down or have it with dessert or after dinner, having a difficult or a business deal. A conversation that may be uncomfortable. Hey, let's grab a coffee and talk things over. So I just love that it was always a part of someone's moment at any given time. And I see a lot of my career has been like that as well. So
are you one of those ones that can't even do nothing until you get your cup of coffee? Don't want to talk to nobody?
According to my 8-year-old, yes. Because he would look at me on FaceTime if we're not together, and he'd be like, ooh, why don't you get some caffeine? And then hit me back. So for the most part, yes, I am.
I want to talk to you about the content of Black, shows, art, right? Do you think that it was some type of conspiracy to change the content? Because everybody talks about how, the content is, destructive now and influences people the wrong way. But growing up, you saw Living Single. There was, y'all had careers, and, y'all weren't, I guess, quote unquote, ratchet, even though there's nothing wrong with being a little ratchet. But
That's right.
It's like, do you think there was a conspiracy to change the content of the shows?
If I'm really for real about it, there's probably a conspiracy about every damn thing.
Yeah.
And especially anything positive to impact any people, let alone people of color. That said, I'm not aware of anything that was that, in your face about it. I think that as a content provider, you have to listen to what the audience is saying that they want to see, and when they put on these great shows or positive shows or whatever, and people aren't watching, they get snatched up. So it's almost like, are we in our own way sometimes? But, hey, we don't have to watch everything just because it's Black people or just because it's music or just because it's, there are certainly many different ways that people can enjoy content and stories. And so I think at the end of the day, it's really about what's good storytelling, what are really good characters. I think that's what people want to see. And then it becomes the timing of it. There are some shows that you feel like, God, that was ahead of its time. And then some shows you like, okay, we've seen enough of that type of show. Can we please see something else? So I don't know that there's a conspiracy or that there was, but I feel like there are certain efforts that we as the viewers, we actually contribute to.
True. Kim Coles said that Fox used Black shows like Living Single and Martin to build the network, then kicked them out the house. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you are growing a network and creating something from scratch, yes, you do gravitate towards what do we know is going to sell right away? What do we know will have that loyal audience right away? And historically speaking, it's been black shows. But yes, there is that sense of, okay, we got the numbers, we grew the audience. And then sometimes it's also if there's a changing of the guard. If there's a new network executive and they want to create a new vision, put it in a new direction, then, and it has nothing to do with being, shows of color, then, you go that route. So I think that, that there is definitely something to what Kim said in terms of, how they build the network. Yes, do I think that there could have been a touch more finessing in terms of how you transition into whatever the new direction is? But, people run their network how they want to run it.
So how important is it to have a creator like a Regina Hicks who's worked on like Insecure, Girlfriends, Sister? Like, is it important to have somebody who understands those legendary black sitcoms and what it takes to create one?
Yes, from the standpoint of her experience. Not, in my opinion, not because she's a woman or a woman of color. But here's why. Because there are those of us, Mike Epps, Wanda Sykes, me, we are people of color. And, two of us are women. One is a man of color. So we're already going to bring some of that to the table. So the idea of, well, we need somebody who understands that voice. Well, not if we have that voice. Her resume and what she knows about running a writer's room, or what she knows about how to have a successful show and a successful comedy. Those to me are the more important boxes to check if you're going to just, start checking boxes. But I do feel like there has to be that sense of diversity, even when you are telling a specific type of story. Like people will say, oh, I'm looking for a black director. I need a female director. Well, I check those boxes, but I don't approach it that way. I'm a director. And so my sensibilities are about how to tell a great story. Secondary and what's kind of tertiary is, yes, I'm female, or yes, I'm a person of color. But for me, it's, if you're a great director, you should be able to tell anybody's story.
Now, I love that because, you have some companies, they got that title now, what is it, President of Diversity and Inclusion.
Inclusion, yeah.
But it might be a black person that has no connection to the black community, no experience with black people whatsoever.
Listen, in the wake of certain tragedies, in the wake of certain difficult moments in society, we had some, what some would consider forward movement, and exactly what you're saying. And for me, I'm not about being a box checker. And when you are a box checker and then you don't have the skill set to back it up, it's like, okay, get in the door with the boxes that you check. But then what you going to do once you're in the door? You have to have the skill set. You got to bring the thunder. Otherwise, you're just a box checker taking up air. So then check the box that I'm an air taker-upper.
You think that's messing up the art? Because it feels like sometimes they'll put some black shows on, black movies, and it should be whack.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I feel like it's messing up the art, the craft, the culture. I mean, come on. There are people that, the diversity on anything is what's up. I mean, it just makes it that much more interesting, that much more collaborative, that much more real in terms of what the reality is in most people's environments. And it just makes, to me, for it to be more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I want you diverse in thought, though. I like diversity, but I like diversity in thought, diversity in creativity. Like what you said, is the talent first.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, hey, if you check a box or two, cool. But at the end of the day, that's more of a corporate mindset of checking those boxes because they want to look good.
That's right.
But then it's like, okay, but then the work that's being put out there, and not just in terms of the creative space, but anything. You know, you could be at Microsoft, and if yes, I check the box. I'm black. I'm female. I'm fluid. I'm bi. I'm pronoun free. I mean, just all of that. And then, you know, now it's time to show up and do the work.
That's right. And you might be whack.
There it is.
Now you talked about, you know, you wanted to do reality show. You wanted to be a director. You wanted to do this. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you want to do?
Yes.
What's on your bucket list that you're like, this is what I want to do?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess I don't approach it like bucket list vibe. You know, I think I approach it more of just, you know, here's some shit I want to do.
Okay.
So let's go. So for me, definitely I want to do more drama. I definitely want to do sci-fi. Because I love sci-fi and fantasy, and you know, folks can't just be the only ones in, you know, blue and green makeup and getting a check. I mean, come on, I put another color on me and I'll get a check too.
Well, ask him what he wants to do for his birthday today.
What we doing today, baby? What we doing, brother?
That's what he wants to do for his birthday. The only thing. Okay,
right. Go,
Well, I'm going to
doing?
therapy at 3, and I got a workout at 6. But you know, I'm watching Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, and there's a in the Welcome to New Jersey sign on exit 14. They have Miss Marvel sitting on top of the sign. Just want to go see it. I'm a science fiction guy. I'm a comic guy. I'm a blurred.
So for his birthday, he wants to drive down the parkway just to see it.
That's
Just to
exciting
see
to
it.
me.
Just to see it.
Yeah, she's the first Muslim superhero.
Okay.
She's on top of the sign.
Right. So now, I thought you was gonna say that you wanted to be up there and sit next to her on the side. That's some birthday shit to drop
nah.
on.
My anxiety too bad. There ain't no way in hell. Hell.
You ain't doing that.
Nah, I'm cool.
You just want to see it in
I just want to see it. I'm
You
cool.
ain't even gonna undo your seatbelt.
No. I'm just gonna drive by like, oh, that's dope.
Oh,
That's
Keep
all he
it
wants to do.
moving.
Well, the Upshaws season
Oh,
2.
I got a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
Because, you know, you said earlier, this is a thankless business. So what do black creators need to do to get their just due?
Manage your expectations on getting that just due. Manage your expectations, because, you know, usually my answer is, you know, be good, be better than, you know, set the bar. Don't just get to the bar, and in fact, raise the bar, and all of that is fine. But then you can do all of that and still feel like, well, that now what? You know, I didn't get any accolades, or I didn't get any flowers, I didn't get any awards, I didn't get a pickup. So I feel like managing your expectations, you know, and I know you were specific in terms of black creatives, but for anybody that's listening, you know, and you're looking at wanting to go further, you know, hit it stronger and level up and raise the bar and all of that, those are fantastic goals to have, and more than likely attainable. But at the end of the day, you can do all of that. And if your goal is beyond what you can control, then, you know, you have to manage that expectation. Versus, it's a great example. Years ago, Blair Underwood and I were talking about auditioning. And he said, you know, make the goal something other than booking the gig, because that's actually not in your control. You can go in there and crush it, kill it, give them some they never thought about for that role. I mean, be extraordinary and not book it because of circumstances beyond your control. They've already cast. They're going with a different type of look. They're going with a different name, all kinds of things. And so what is the goal, you know? But don't make the goal something pressurized, like I got to book this to pay my rent. I got to book this to get the light bill paid, or my baby needs shoes, whatever it is, because that pressure will then mess you up and you won't be able to be at your best. But when you find that space where you are not in a pressurized moment, then make the goal something that you can control. Oh, I want to do better with my comedy. Or I want to work on being off book in an audition a bit more, knowing all the lines a bit more. Things that you can control. That way, even if you don't get the job, you go, okay, but at least I was off book. At least I feel like I got my comedy going a bit more because I'm more of a dramatic actor. So that's what I think when I say manage your expectations, you know.
Now, you mentioned auditioning. Do you still audition for parts?
No. I am either
said no.
no. I'm either offer only, or like with the Upshaws, chemistry. Certain things I will do a meet and greet with either the director or the producer, just because, like you said earlier, bro, I don't know what's in some people's heads if they haven't seen the Upshaws when they hear the name Kim Fields. I don't know what visual is going to pop up in there. And even if you Google me, I don't know what image, and there's a slew of them that come up. How old am I gonna be? Yeah. am I grown? Am I a kid? Yeah. Am I an 80s teen that just nobody wants to see? So I don't mind meet and greets and things like that, but I don't necessarily audition in that truest sense of the word.
So that's great advice you gave. So what is your intention when you do a show like the Upshaws? To do something, again, that I've never done before. So those characters, and my character in particular, I've not played that type of character. So even though I've done, 14, 15 years of sitcom television, what makes this moment different? Well, this is edgier. Edgier than Living Single? Yeah, because at that time, Living Single for me was totally edgy. Mm-hmm. To go from Facts of Life to Living Single? Yeah. What? That was for real uncharted waters. So now doing that same kind of thing. Okay, so what are my expectations? Yeah, you want to do the kind of great work that makes your industry and your peers take notice and, submit you for awards and all these other things. But if not, I'm going to be all right, because I feel like, wow, that scene, I put my foot in it. Wow, that moment there was really great. And so I feel like that to me is really when you go back to the goals and what are my expectations that I'm managing. Mm-hmm. Season 2 just dropped. So, yeah, of course, we want everybody to love it. Everything ain't for everybody. Mm-hmm. Every black thing ain't for every black person. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at, okay, for my character, did I leave it all on the floor? Mm-hmm. And that becomes my goal and my expectation. That's what I expect from myself. Mm. And then everything else is the gravy train.
Now, you talked about doing something for the check, doing something for the money to keep your light bills on. Mm-hmm. Have you ever did a role for the check and regretted it later on? If there was ever a part in your life you'd be like, well, I got to do it for this, and then hated yourself later on, like I didn't like that?
No, because, because I first, I don't live in regrets. I mean, there's just, what's the point of that? That's energy that could be, used for something else. But I have, I don't necessarily take a role for the check. Sometimes it's for the opportunity. So if it becomes a situation of, oh, well, it's a small role, but it's to work with so-and-so, then okay, yeah, sure. Or it positions me. I'm really big on positioning yourself. Mm-hmm. And so if it puts me in a different position, then okay, yeah, Thankfully, I'm more about who do I feel like being bothered with.
Word. Absolutely.
Who do I feel like I want to work with? Because that's real, and I really am clear and grateful that I've gotten to a point in my career where if I'm like, I think I'm good. I don't really want to, have that kind of energy in my energy right now. Mm-hmm. And so there have been, projects or opportunities where I've passed on that. It would have been a great check. I'll find another way to make some paper.
Gotcha.
What do you expect from the Upshaws and Netflix? And the reason I asked that because I'm sure there was a huge difference between Facts of Life and Living Single, and then the streaming service. Cause that's like, what is that? That's cable. No. Living Single would be considered.
Living Single was broadcast.
And then Facts of Life was network.
Yep.
And so then streaming service. So what's the differences in those three things?
Well, as a business model, streaming services are just different because you can either get all the episodes at once or you can get them, once a week like a regular, network would distribute them. Sometimes there's a tendency to feel that a streaming service will give a show more of a chance, as opposed to, well, we aired 3 episodes, they didn't work, so we're gonna yank the show. And it's like, well, wait, give it a time, give it some time. And the same with cable. Cable and streaming are usually kind of like kissing cousins in my mind, because it's, for the most part, commercial free. You have more liberty creatively. Back in the day, it was thought to have been a little edgier, so you could do more, you could say more, you could cuss, you could show nudity. I mean, so there were all sorts of things that you could do on cable and then on streaming that you couldn't necessarily do on a broadcast network.
Well, I was going to ask one question with that. So with all those three different things, what you talk about, I feel like sometimes with streaming, it cuts the life short, right? Because every week you was waiting to see that person, to see that network. But now if you let's say I watched the whole thing this weekend. Yeah. Now I don't see you for another, until you got to do season 3. Which I miss you. But now for, every day I would have to wait for a Thursday night to see the Cosby Show. Right. Wait for, whatever night to see Living Single. So
that was Thursday night too, wasn't it?
That was Thursday, both Thursday nights. So does that hurt at all?
I think some people would argue that yes, it does hurt it in a certain way. This newer business model of distribution, but I mean, it still works for some people love to binge, and then it goes away, and then you want to you revisit it, like you said. Yeah, I'm gonna miss you. So I think that there's something to be said for both models. I think a platform like Disney Plus. And now some of the others have caught on where they will stream, but they still drop, one episode a week. So I think they've started understanding that people like that hybrid. I like that better, yeah. Some people, like Netflix has started doing it where they'll drop a certain, number of episodes and call that part 1. Then you have, part 2. Even though in broadcast, because people want to keep watching their favorite shows. So remember you used to have your cliffhanger, and that was for the summer. Yeah. And then you didn't see any new episodes till the fall. So now in the fall you get new episodes, and then they have your winter cliffhanger. What is that? And then and then you get new episodes after the top of the year.
But I like
that's real.
Better.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you why, because you shoot a show, right? And what Netflix does is they wait for the show to be a hit. Now it's a hit. What was the show that just came out recently with where they were shooting the people, whatever that was called? I can't think of it.
Squid Game?
Squid Game, yeah.
Squid Game. So Squid Games came out, right? Everybody loved it. So, but now you got to wait for them to shoot another Squid Game to get another budget to do that. So now, by the time it comes out a year and a half later, I done forgot about it. Now I got to rewatch the first one to catch up. I hate that. I like the more of the weekly catch on, enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. You hate it, but you do it.
You right?
Yeah, I don't even know what age I was when I started realizing there was seasons, because it just seemed like on Thursday nights, Cosby Show's coming on, Different World coming on, Martin coming on, Living Single coming on. My last question: you grew up in the entertainment industry. What was the best and worst advice you received?
Thankfully, I've not had any bad advice.
Wow.
Yeah, thankfully. And if I had, I guess I just didn't listen. So, but my best advice was from my mom. And she, my goodness, when I wrote my autobiography, I just felt like it should be called, Chip's Gems, because my mother just dropped gem after gem in my life. But when I was growing up, like one of the early days of Facts of Life, and she said, you start at 100%, and she put her hand up here, and she said, Kimmy, you start at 100%, and everything that you do and say every day that you're here either keeps you here or it can chip away.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, all right, that's all right. And then the second piece of advice, when I went to do the audition for the Miss Butterworth syrup commercial, so Janet was there, and that was the first time that I'd even seen her or met her. And they had those Jackson summer special.
Jackson, you talk about.
So yes,
okay,
and so yes, and so they had those summer specials the Jacksons had, and so I knew who she was, and I got into that, and that was my first audition, first time doing anything. We had just gotten to L.A., and I thought, oh my God, that's Janet Jackson. I don't belong here. I want to go home. And I got terrified and very insecure. And my mom took me into the bathroom, and she said, listen, she's not doing anything to you. You are doing this to yourself. Ooh. Don't let anything or anybody intimidate you of your own doing, but don't do it. And there are times to this day, guys, if I'm like feeling, some kind of way or in my feelings and feeling like, oh, I'm not sure, or whatever. And, my level of confidence or my security is not on full blast. I will go into the bathroom and tell myself, don't let anything or anyone intimidate you.
Wow.
And especially when you're doing that to yourself and they're not even doing anything to you. Don't you allow your own mind to do that. So those were the
Go
two,
ahead, Miss Chip.
right?
Ooh. Nah, because that keeps the child from never having imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Always feeling worthy.
Yes.
Which is two things that you always deal with no matter how old you are.
That's
you know?
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that level of security, really, really helped seal the deal for me.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, check out the Upshaws Season 2 right now, and we appreciate you for joining
The
us.
legendary Kim
Man,
Fields.
thank you.
for coming.
You're right. Listen, I'm so glad that I was able to finally get here and finally meet you. Happy birthday
Thank
to
you again. Thank you.
Have an amazing, amazing next chapter
Thank
filled
you.
with so much adventure and wonder and success and being grounded. Happy birthday to you.
I receive it all. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And go on and sit up there next to her.
Take that adventure.
No way, Jose.
It's Kim Fields. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.